Live from Southwest Florida's news leader, this is Wink News Weekend.
Good morning and thanks for joining us. I'm Andrea Henderson.
And I'm Channing Frampton. We are tracking the first named storm days ahead of hurricane season. And Wink News is the weather authority. We have team coverage this morning. But let's start with meteorologist Matt Devitt, who's in the Weather Center right now.
Yeah, that's right, guys. So right now we are tracking a minimal subtropical storm Alberto. Weak system, sustained winds only at 40 miles an hour, moving towards the north-northeast at 13. The pressure at 1,001 millibars, so it's not a terribly strong storm. It's basically rain with a name, the best way to think about it. But the plan is, as we look ahead to later on today, but especially into your Monday, if you have friends and family around the Florida Panhandle, northern Florida, they will see at that point a tropical storm working its way towards the north. Models are in good agreement that this is not going to be our storm. At least the core of it will remain still about 100 to 150 miles offshore, but we will continue to see some of those outer bands. Here's the infrared satellite imagery. This morning it is trying to blow up some showers and storms near the core as it skirts the eastern part of the Gulf of Mexico and also moves off towards the north. So the big message here is that locally the impacts are going to be very minor, very minimal, nothing to stress about. Along the coast, sustained winds at 20 to 30, gusting 30 to 45. Inland 15 to 25, gusting 25 to 35. From now all the way through Tuesday, could see an additional 1 to 3 inches of rain, and we already have flooding in spots. And a few more spots of flooding can't be ruled out. The water rise is going to be minimal, only 1 to 2 feet, especially as we hit high tide later today, and that's going to be around noon. So here's a look at the wind speeds. Breezy, even downright windy in a few spots. You can see Naples sustained at 21. Here's a look at Alberto, about 100 miles offshore. There's going to be the swirl, the counterclockwise motion. And for the very latest on where we have the rain and where it's going to be heading, let me toss it out to Brooke Silverang. Brooke?
All right. Well, thank you, Matt. We're so happy to have you here on this Sunday to help us out with this because we are tracking, again, subtropical storm Alberto. So you can see the rain starting to pick up a lot, mainly offshore. It's about 140 miles offshore. And then on the other end of that, this is what makes it subtropical, the fact that there's the rain, the heavy storm activity, and the winds on the outer bands of this. So you can see the heavier stuff off the coast of the Miami area and still sitting about 140 miles off the coast of here in Southwest Florida. So to get a closer look on some of the activity that we have going on, a lot of the stuff, as I mentioned, offshore for now, but we're still going to be dealing with the bands of rain trailing behind it, and that's what's going to come through our area later. But starting off your morning, not that bad at the moment. Of course, it is going to be breezy. We're going to see the rain pick up later, but right now getting a little bit of a break along Lee County with the exception of a few light showers surrounding. Heaviest of rain north of Northport along 75 heading northbound towards Tampa. That's where we're seeing more of the heavy rain and activity. But for the bigger picture, not looking at much to start off the morning at the moment, but when we see these rain bands whip around, that's when we are going to start to see some storms, some heavier rain, and of course, the possibility of some very strong to damaging winds. So we are under a tropical storm warning for Lee County going into Charlotte County, coastal areas, of course, that is in effect, and also still under a aerial flood watch. And that's because of the potential to see a few more inches of rainfall just from today going into tomorrow. Localized flooding is definitely a possibility here.
All right, thanks, Brooke. And we're continuing our team coverage with a look at the conditions outside as the storm rolls in. You can see this is a live look at downtown Fort Myers from the Wink News Tower cam. You can actually see it's kind of shaking there.
Yeah, and you'll see heavy rain, possible flooding, and some gusty winds this morning. And one or more of the windy places will be on Sanibel Island. That's where we find Wink News reporter Hannah Vogel, who is out in the elements to describe what you're seeing this morning. Hannah, what can you tell us? Looks pretty windy.
Channing, there's no shortage of wind here on Sanibel. Just in the past 30-45 minutes we've been here, it's definitely picked up. I want to show you just how much of an effect the wind is having. If you look right here at these brush, you can just see how the wind is forcing them in one way, definitely bending them over. And if you look over there in the distance, those bushes are moving too. The bathroom door has been swinging open and closed this entire time we've been here just because of all of the wind. And now if we walk over here, you can see the waves just cascading against the shore right here. Definitely aggressive, definitely more movement than I've seen here from the waves there. Definitely the wind is having an effect on that too. And if we look over here, even this puddle of standing water, you can see some of the ripples as the wind moves the water, takes the water. So you can really feel and see how the wind is affecting it here on Sanibel. And I do want to say that driving over the bridge to get here, that was pretty difficult because the wind did, take the steering wheel a couple times. So definitely drivers be aware going over that bridge to be careful because the wind is having an effect on driving too. And even opening and closing the car door, I mean, it is very, very difficult over here with the wind. So definitely feeling the effects here. We don't feel any rain right now, but again, there's no shortage of wind. But I'll continue to be here live all morning and continue to give you updates. But for now, live here on Sanibel, Hannah Vogel, Wink News Now.
All right, Hannah, stay safe. In Bonita Springs, neighbors are watching nearby waterways very closely. This is video from the Wink News drone of what they had to deal with late last year when the Imperial River flooded. In some areas, went under several feet of water after heavy rain. Now, with subtropical storm Alberto arriving, neighbors say they're anxious. Some are still rebuilding after the hurricane.
I left my galoshes in the Bronx, so I don't think I'm going to have the proper clothing to wear. But yes, I am concerned about it.
If it does flood, and the properties flood out again, we already have a plan in place to completely restore the bottom half of the flooded area.
The city of Bonita Springs has spent thousands of dollars to clear debris from that river in hopes of preventing future flooding.
And the soggy conditions are even making it difficult for first responders to help you when you need it most. And we spoke to a Cape Coral couple who says an ambulance couldn't make it to their home. Bill Braddock fell inside his home on Friday and needed an ambulance, but the EMTs couldn't get to his home through the muddy conditions.
He has a bad heart, and if he would have had a heart attack, he'd have died before anybody could have gotten him out of here. So I just feel it's that the city should do something. If they're going to do this, they should be able to get it done and get the roads working because it's all closed up. You can't get in and out of here. It's bad.
And the family says emergency personnel had to pick Bill up in an SUV and drive him to the ambulance that was waiting down the block. Luckily, he was okay.
As Alberto affects southwest Florida, many people have been making last-minute preparations. Water's been building up in the swales in Cape Coral days ahead of the storm, and those water levels are going to go up. Many neighbors we spoke with say they're taking some extra precautions, but they're not too worried.
A little bit, but not too much. I'm going to get some water and some canned goods and be prepared, but no, I'm not worried.
If this one here gets coming in close, there's not really that much we need. We still have plywood from the last hurricane.
I have my storm shelters ready if anything. We're right here next to Walmart, which is real close to our place. So if I have to buy supplies or anything, I sure will,
And we will continue to monitor conditions in southwest Florida throughout this morning.
And of course, we want you to stay safe and up to date with the weather conditions in your neighborhood. And you can do that by downloading the Wink News weather app. It has all the latest information from the most experienced weather team here in Southwest Florida. A terrifying moment on the tracks, how one driver ended up in a train's path in Fort Myers overnight. But first,
we've noticed that there are a lot of the tarps people still haven't been able to have roofs repaired on their house.
How firefighters are helping you ahead of this weekend's heavy rain.
And here's actually a look at Alberto as we go into time. You can see the swirl offshore. I've got you covered. I'll show you the hour-by-hour forecast and just exactly what you can expect coming up.